So I've pretty much built this entire car on jack stands. So just being able to look underneath it and be like, oh, sweet, I can work on it. So without having to lay on my back and looking up at the car, that just makes me happy right there. So first test drive's done. It went pretty good, not gonna complain. Like you saw in the last video, biggest problem is run out of fuel. So yes, the fuel light was on, but when the light was on, I figured I had maybe 20 miles to go before I would run out, not like 3. At this point, I'm just glad that it drove. Now that the first test drive's done, so it's time to go over anything that needs tweaked or adjusted. So another thing that I noticed when I was driving was that whenever I'd get up to where it was gonna start making positive pressure, so getting into boost, it's not like I was planning on wrapping it out, but I wanted to at least get to the point where it's like, okay, this car wants to party. I noticed that it wasn't wanting to go, and so I figured that there was probably some type of leak of some kind. And I did realize that, let me grab the light. So I did forget to put on that coupler, and that is where the oil was coming from, because obviously there's a pipe that goes from there to there, and when I took it off, which is this one, when I took it off, there was quite a bit of oil sitting in the bottom of that elbow, and so that is what the oil is from. And that is from previously when the car blew its head gasket. So when it was running in that condition, obviously it had a lot of blow by, so it was going through the catch can and obviously into the intercooler piping. So I pulled off both pieces, or at least I took that one off. Wasn't oil in that one, so it was just this one. Drained it. That's ready to go back on. I have a small leak here coming from the thermostat housing right there, so I think that is just the need more silicone on that or something. Other than that, no other problems there. One thing I need to do is I need to throw another bolt into my clutch, into the clutch bracket where it bolts into the dash support beam. I noticed when I was under there that there was one in there, so I need to do that. And then obviously put fuel in the car. So it's really all I need to do to go for the next test drive. Should be able to knock those out fairly quick. So let's get to it so that we can drive this car again. All right, pipes back on, both sides, tightened down, even double checked the V-band clamps. I don't know if you guys have ever seen one of these Milwaukee lights, but they're pretty sweet. You can move them around. Whoa, unless it falls off. So yeah, they're just magnetic, so they can stick anywhere, and then they pivot there, and then the head can pivot. So they're actually really sweet for working under a lift. So yeah, if you haven't, look into this Milwaukee light. It's pretty sweet. So I think I am done under the car, so can lower it, put fuel in it, and then we can work on the dash. Well, having the car on the lift was short-lived, but it was definitely nice while it lasted. So everything underneath the car is buttoned up. Now we just need to figure out this interior. Just need to put these kick panels in, tidy up a few wires down there. These are the wires to my second fuel pump. I need to run those up through the firewall into the relay. And then that's pretty much it. right, interior is somewhat back together. Still need to put the top on, but I don't know if I'm gonna figure out these wires yet or not. Probably not. So guess we can prime the pump a few times. And we can see if she wants to start. Well, she's definitely rich. But I'm gonna drive her over to the house and give her a bath, and then we can do some laptop stuff. Well, got her all cleaned up, washed real nice like. Cleans up pretty good. Still need to do the interior, but I don't feel like doing that. But I finally got an inverter so I can plug my laptop into the car. So I should be able to go for a ride, get some more braking miles in, maybe give it some more fuel, and yeah, let's get some miles on her and see how she does. Well, the other day I was able to get about 20 miles on the car. Everything went really well. Couldn't be happier with where the coolant was at. While I'm cruising, it would drop around like 70, and then when I'm sitting there, it would climb up until 190, and that's when my fans come on. And then once they come on, then it drops down to 80, and so it's just been staying in between there, and that is perfect. It's exactly what I wanted it to do, so I'm happy that that is all figured out. And for the most part, everything else did really well in the car. I still have an issue where once I get above like 5,000 RPMs, it just starts breaking up. So in my mind, I'm kind of thinking that there's either a boost leak of some kind, but I've kind of gone through everything and it doesn't look like there is. And then I also think that my plugs might be gapped wrong. So what I'm gonna do tonight is smoke my intercooler piping and all that, check to see if there's any boost leaks that I'm not seeing, and then we can pull some plugs and see what they're looking like. So all I have here, so the smoke machine I have here is kind of a DIY one that we picked up. I think it's fairly cheap, but I've used it before and it actually works pretty good. So I'm just gonna plumb it into this vacuum line coming off the turbo here, and then that should fill up the So that should fill up the intercooler system, and hopefully we'll find out if there's any leaks. So this smoke tester is pretty simple. You add mineral oil into this paint can, and then as you can see there's a pressure regulator, so you hook the air up to it, and then there's a heating element inside of the paint can that burns the mineral oil, and so that's what gives it the smoke. And then it's pressurized, and so the smoke goes into so you hook it into the system. As you can see, smoke is coming out because it's working its way through the system, so we'll let it sit for a while, and then we'll start seeing if it comes out of any weird places, because you'll be able to see the smoke obviously. Well, didn't really find anywhere that there were any major leaks coming from, so which doesn't surprise me. I wasn't really expecting to find anything. I don't feel like it doesn't feel like a boost problem. It feels more like a losing spark problem. And I know that I tightened my plugs down to, I think, 0.026, which I think might be a little much, and so I guess I'm going to start pulling plugs, see what they look like, and probably re-gap them and put them back in, and then we can see if that fixes the problem. So I got all the plugs pulled out, and they definitely are looking like they are a little bit fouled up. I don't know if you can really see, but there's some carbon buildup, which usually means that the vehicle is either running rich, which I know that is definitely a possibility. But my other theory is that my plug gap was too small, which was causing pretty much misfires. In a perfect world, you would want a big gap, because the bigger gap, the further the spark has to jump, and it actually creates a stronger spark. But the problem with boosted vehicles is sometimes you have to lower that gap, because the increased pressure can actually blow out your spark plug gap. And so you have to decrease it, but there's a fine line between decreasing it too small, because if you decrease it too small, then it also creates too light of spark, because the shorter distance to jump. So you can't go too low, because then the spark's too weak and it can get blown out. And you can't be too big, because if it's too big, the bigger gap allows for it to be blown out as well. So you have to find that kind of perfect scenario. I have a theory that I think I gapped the plugs too small, because boosted is going to need a smaller one, but I'm not really running a ton of boost yet, so I almost wonder if I went too small with it. So then in turn I created a weak spark. That is my theory. So I think I'm going to get new plugs, just to eliminate the fact that maybe those plugs are fouled from running too rich, and then I'm gonna gap them bigger. A stock Eg33 calls for like a 0.03, like 6 to 0.3 or to 0.04 something. And I know when I did pull them from the previous engine that they were gapped high, and I was thinking, geez, there's a big gap, and I lowered them down. But in all reality, with that bigger gap, the engine ran just fine before, and so I almost wonder if I kind of shot myself in the foot again. So we will see. I'm going to get new plugs, throw them in there, so kind of a peace of mind that I know the plugs are fine, and then we can go for another drive and see if she's still not wanting to climb over that 5,000 RPM range. So we're gonna keep chugging along. Car's running, but we still have a little bit of tweaks to to get her purring real good. So I'll go get some plugs and then we can get him in here and go for another drive.